Latin America, it was previously viewed as a source of talent that was cheaper than other countries. And most of this talent was very focused on manufacturing and I would say like hardcore skills of operations. But right now it has transitioned into something more because that's not the only thing that Latin American talent can offer. And I think that's especially for the newer generations. I think as long as they have purpose, they will stay in your company, and if not, they'll find another one because all these fight for talent. It's a joke about what do supply chain professionals use to eat their food, and they say like, oh, they eat it with a spoon, and then you say no, you eat it with a fork. So in Spanish, the pun is with a fork. It's con tenedor, which is translated to container.
This video is brought to you by us, SCM Dojo. We provide awesome courses, guides, best practices for supply chain community.
Hi folks, welcome to one more episode of Supply Chain Show. Today I have one very special guest. I think I would call it an emerging superstar, right? Sofia Rivas Herrera. She is a LinkedIn top voice. She's an international speaker. She makes some really awesome videos promoting courses, other brand products, and I think I've seen her in going into a lot of new conferences, which is basically testament to how she has built her own brand. Currently, she's working as supply chain network design engineer and optimizer. And today we're going to talk about how the talent development and retention is happening in the Latin America region. We call it LATAM, right? And we will also talk about with the advent of nearshoring, which is happening in Mexico, which is the biggest opportunity for Mexico, that a lot of manufacturing is coming, given their relationship with China is not so good. So good opportunity for Mexico to grow in basically manufacturing distribution, which requires talent. So how are we going to retain talent and acquire talent? So these are the topic. How are you, Sofia? How's things? Tell us what's happening recently.
Yeah, hello. So thank you so much for the invite. I'm so glad to be here. And yeah, definitely a lot of things going on this new year. I think post pandemic has I can say it's officially over, and now most of the supply chain events around the world are now again face to face, which is nice. And now we get to see and meet each other in person. So hopefully one day we meet as well. Um, but yeah, I think like there are definitely new challenges because as we know, this industry and at the end the whole world itself, it will continue to have disruptions, and we will need to continue finding new ways to solve those issues.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about detailing. You're also yourself, still very much early of your supply chain career. I think you've done very well where you are. But when we talk about Latin America, Latin countries, right, which includes Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, all those countries in that region, how is the situation with the skills in terms of acquiring skills, competency development, and retention of it? What's your view?
Yeah, so I think in Latin America, it was previously viewed as a source of talent that was cheaper than other countries, right? And and most of this talent was very focused on manufacturing and I would say like hardcore skills of operations. But right now it has transitioned into something more because that's not the only thing that Latin American talent can offer. But I think, yeah, definitely with time and as well with the new market needs, that's how we have been upskilling. And you can find talent that is great for managerial positions and also for analytics. I think we're big in analytics, and yeah, that will be a big differentiator now with all the things that you were mentioning, such as nearshoring that are coming to not only to Mexico, but they will impact the whole region.
Right. So one of the things I mentioned, I think I was in Ashgabat about last year as a
Mm-hmm.
conference speaker. I did the keynote I aired before as well. It was a fantastic event done by the C12 friends, Robert and Elias. You know them as well. But one thing I noticed there is the English. is still very much not the, I would call it, as established. Still, they would want the content, the training opportunities, etc. in Spanish. Do you think it's like a good thing or it's a constraint?
I find it a bit surprising because at least I can tell that, for example, in Guadalajara, the city I'm in, which is known as a city, well, they call it the Silicon Valley of Mexico. The English is our second language, and we manage it pretty well. And at the end of the day, that's part of our distinction as talent, right? And that's how most of the people and companies that are here work in English. I don't know if maybe that conference was tailored to the content being in Spanish, but I can tell you that I mean, at least in the north part of Mexico, um, the west part, the west coast, all that is English is one of, yeah, our second nature language. So yeah, I definitely think that it could be a barrier if you do not manage it as at 100%, but most definitely you can find really good talent that speaks that language and others such as German. Um, I think other countries that differentiate themselves with good English are also Peru, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil. They they do have that talent.
I and again, I was trying to collaborate as we have a representative in Brazil, and one of the challenges we saw there is they want SCM Lujo to be in Portuguese, and I'm thinking converting our content into Portuguese is, it's a hard job. I think if we would do it, we're trying to do in Arabic first because we're in this region, and then I think the second choice would be Spanish.
But is it educational content
Yeah,
or?
that's what we do, educational content. Yeah.
But then, yeah, I mean, if you are still in your way to become a supply chain professional, then I understand that maybe you're in that process of dominating and being an expert in English. But once you're a professional, I think you can find great talent there.
That's great. So you mentioned about the analytical skills, which is, available and needed, but that is available. So do you see any skills gap recently, which I think companies are needed given the rise of nearshoring, more manufacturing footprint into diverse industries, not just automotive? Uh,
Hmm.
do you see where are the biggest skills gap, which is the Mexico, Latin American market is needed?
I think one of the biggest gap right now is finding talent that is both good in data analytics, communication, and network design. So network design, um, and I see it a lot, not only in my company, but in the needs of other companies as well. That that bridge between translating the physical problem into a mathematical model is something that we're missing. So people that have this ability to do that are in great demand. So if you're out there and you're looking for a job, contact us and we can put you in contact with the people that need you. But definitely, I think, yeah, that part of not only using a tool to achieve the best solution or the optimal solution, but actually um, constructing the model, that is something that we are missing, like this part of the tool. And the other part is some people are very good at data analytics, even going into more of becoming a data scientist, but the way in which you communicate these to other levels that are not in this space of programming and data visualization tools, um, it's important to know how to tailor your language into financial metrics, into maybe being more assertive and concrete in the way you share things if you're presenting to an executive. So that those are the gaps that I see currently right now.
Yeah, I mean, listening to you, again, you're talking about the gaps of analytics, network design, and translating the data into the more business savvy language. I do agree with that part. Maybe I was in C12 and I was mainly around logistics people. I think logistics competencies, logistics infrastructure is, I think, pretty strong. At least Mexico. I can't talk about the all LATAM countries. But when it comes to the maturity of procurement practices and also the supply chain, end-to-end supply chain planning and design in general, especially the strategy part, and if you combine this with digitalization, the discussion I have had with even with very senior people, I think, in my view, you please correct me if I'm wrong, is is still in a very early stages of maturity. It's not as mature as USA or Western countries or Western European countries. What do you think?
I think that um, there's a need to be more intentional about being in supply chain. I think from generations to generations, people have fallen into this kind of
Yeah.
career, but not being very conscious that they are part of a greater thing, right? Something that is interconnected, that goes upstream to downstream, and that has an impact in ripple effects if one takes one decision and another. I think generally has been viewed that procurement is a completely separate thing, that logistics is as well something different, and at the end, that supply chain is something that is not omnipresent or at all existent, right? So definitely, I think that most of the practices, especially in Latin American countries, has been with literally being there and finding ways to solutionize, but not intentionally knowing that you were or you are in supply chain, and that and that you're putting into practice prior knowledge that you had. So it's more empirical rather than um, coming from an educational background that was intentional in that sense.
Mm-hmm. So I think if there's opportunity to further enhance these skills and opportunity when it comes to, for example, strategic procurement, strategic sourcing, negotiation skills, supply chain planning, demand forecasting. I think that is also needed because transportation is almost, as we know, is a downstream part of the supply chain. It's eventually about delivering of the goods, but if the planning and all that is not super nice, it could have the cost optimization issue. Now we're talking about retention. So as you know, there's a talent war, especially in there. Companies are growing. When the manufacturing is growing, there's always, if you are a good candidate like yourself, educated, very smart, talented, there is plenty of jobs available, right? And everybody is basically fighting for talent. So how the companies would basically, or strategies they should adopt to retain talent?
Well, just parenthesis. I don't know if you said that there is no fight for talent. I think there
I
is
think
a
there is
fight
a
for.
lot of fight. I said there's a lot of fight for
Okay.
talent. I
Yeah,
said
there's
there's
a
a lot
lot
of
of
fight
fight for talent, especially because all the companies that are coming here and establishing not only their manufacturing sites, but also their distribution centers and all the infrastructure that they need in order to satisfy the North American market. But yeah, I think like a way in which you can retain your talent is by giving them meaningful tasks, right? I think that apart from your ordinary and maybe the routine that you might have in the different job that you have, if it's in procurement, then obviously there are processes and things that are repetitive, but also a finding ways in which you can add meaning to your job in terms of not only being there to like tick the boxes of the list of projects that you wanted to complete or in a day, but actually finding ways that give you purpose. And I think that's especially for the newer generations. I think as long as they have purpose, they will stay in your company. And if not, they'll find another one because of what we said before, right? All these fight for talent. Obviously, there's a lot of places to to move and to find better opportunities that can give you that sense of purpose.
So, in addition to the sense of purpose. I was a divisional supplies manager managing about $700 million business, 12 plants, and every plant have one or two really top talented young people. And I saw three things which retain them. The first one I saw, they need a challenging task. If they just do the same thing over 6 months, they get
Exactly.
super bored, right? They need something which stretches their intellectual capacity, right? That's what they need. This gives them more sense they're learning and being stretched. The second thing they need is basically opportunity to see a path for development. So if you're a top talent, if that person doesn't see that in next 2 years, okay, right now I'm a demand planner, next one is I could become like a materials manager, then supply chain manager. If you don't give them this pathway, they don't see that I should stay here longer because I can go somewhere else and make a better
Yeah,
career out
and
of it.
especially if they see that all like maybe their peers are not advancing as well, or
Yeah,
that the people that actually advance are externals that you bring from other companies. So it's like,
yeah,
well, this is
yeah.
really demotivating for me to stay.
Agree. And the third one is they need constant sources of development, right? So basically, you have to put them into new trainings. It could be technical trainings or people skill training or builder trainings, whatever. So and one of the reasons why I established SCM Dojo because I find it very difficult for finding funding for those talented people. I lost so many talented people because I couldn't find enough, $12,000 or for at least three people to train. So I wish there
Mm-hmm.
could be something like SCM Dujo that I just pay $99 and then keep them happy. They can do a lot of courses, guides, best practices. So at least keep them, up to speed with the recent knowledge. So that, and I feel if I was supply chain director or manager when I should have somebody like SCM Dujo to basically give it to my team. But it wasn't, hence we born. Anyway, so yeah, your input is pretty right when it comes to sense of purpose. Now, the I think we've moved to the last part in terms of the I think with the yeah. So in terms of the waves of nearshoring, so what has changed and what opportunities it has brought in? Again, keeping the skills and talent people in mind. So when we talk about nearshoring.
So I think a lot of good opportunities in terms of the job market, but I think the challenge is how can we take these labels from our front head uh, of saying that we are cheap talent and actually becoming more valued talent. That is something that I think is a challenge, and actually, yeah, knowing our value and selling that value to these companies as well. A- And the other thing that I see as a challenge is this part of, and I see this as a challenge for the established companies here in Mexico that maybe they're family owned, that are brands that we love and that are from Mexico. I think the challenge for them is retention. So how can we keep our talent with us, despite of all these new other shiny companies that are coming, and yeah, making sure that we in the process of nearshoring or in this transition of other companies coming here, um, don't lose our structure, don't lose our organizational structure. And yeah, I think there are many other challenges, not only in the talent uh, framework, but or the talent streamline, but as well there there are challenges in, for example, sustainability. There are no clear regulations and established practices that can align the new companies coming for actually having a better practice and avoiding what had happened. For example, when nearshoring happened in China, there were no regulations as well, and now they're suffering of high um, negative environmental impact. So I think like in order to avoid that future that we see that can happen, we as Mexico can should have a better regulation system for it.
Hmm. Agree. You mentioned almost twice now that's the label of cheap talent as seen. I've done a recent study. Actually, we've just published a blog, salaries in supply chain management. And our research is correct, if you compare Mexico salaries of supply chain people, same like for like, same titles,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a big difference. It's only 20% off. So I think if you are a I don't know, supply chain manager in Mexico City, in dollars, your salary is around 80 to 90 thousand dollars per annum, right? On average, in the good companies. If you go to USA, it's become 130 to 160. Okay. So the difference is not huge. It's not a difference between USA to China or USA to India. That's my research. Would you agree or you have a different view?
I think it depends on your seniority in the company. And I think it depends also on if you're checking on international companies versus local companies, right?
My research
Um,
was mainly international companies. International.
yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. Um, and especially, and also if you selected Mexico City as one of your research points, I think that's also more elevated. But I think it's not only in terms of okay the amount of money, but the how much that salary actually translates in your quality of life, right? So I think it would depend on evaluating if that salary actually is a good salary for someone that lives and needs to pay a rent and a certain lifestyle in Mexico City, for example. But the part of cheap talent is more on, and I think it's we're comparing different professionals, but at the end is Mexico has for so long been a place where you outsource your operations because it's cheaper. The talent is cheaper.
Hmm.
I think depending this mind shift of okay, we cannot just offer that, but offer a different type of talent that is strategical, managerial, uh, business savvy, tech savvy. Yeah, that's another thing that we can offer us in our talent pool.
Hmm. 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 So how you see next 5 years look like for LATAM talent? What are the emerging things, emerging trends you see?
In terms of talent.
Oh, yeah, in terms of talents, yes. The challenges and opportunities, yeah.
Well, I think good things that are happening is that different educational institutions such as CSEMP, ASEM are growing in our country and in Latin America, and that are showing that there are other ways in which you can learn about supply chain. I think the other institutions such as MIT have been really well connected in Latin America, giving opportunities in the field. Um, Additional, I think traditional university degrees such as industrial engineering, mechanical engineer are tailoring their workforce also into looking into logistics and international trade, which I think brings additional perspective, not only focusing on manufacturing but also seeing the whole picture. So I think those are some of the trends that I see in the educational system in Mexico. And yeah, definitely this part of making sure that the new students are getting the right opportunities when they graduate.
Okay, no, I think that's great. That's so it's basically the future is looking orange for Mexico going forward, right? It's all bright. I like to think so.
Yeah, I like to think so as well. There are things that are really exciting, things that are worrying, such because life, right? But no, I think like it is looking brighter. There are also a lot of new projects funded by um, private companies and also the government that are incentivizing better infrastructure for logistics. Very interesting projects like
Right.
that. Yeah. that are connecting, for example, both sides of Mexico through sea. Um, technologies that are being implemented, so that's very exciting as well.
All right. So there's one section I've introduced recently in my podcast, which I don't tell my guests because it's a surprise, which is a quick fire questions. So I'm going to throw some quick fire questions, which is not logical mostly, and you just need to tell me what you think. Are you ready?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. So if supply chain can talk, what do you think they'd mostly complain about?
Data,
Data. Okay. What data good, data bad, do not exist?
bad data.
Bad data.
Yeah, and
Right.
hard access to it.
Someone told me yesterday in my podcast, forecast. Forecast is wrong. You're saying a very similar thing. Right.
Yeah,
Okay. If supply chain have a theme song, what it would be?
a team song.
Yeah.
Uh, oh my God, I don't know. Well, I don't know what's it called, but I just saw a video from DHL with their new branding, and it's called Harmonized Supply Chain. That's the new branding, and
Yeah,
I
that
love that
video,
song.
that rap is 18 months old, by the way. That's the Harman supply chain. That's the 18 months old rap. Actually, supply chain rap. I don't know if you've seen or not. STM do we have made one as well last year. So have a
You
look.
did it
That
with AI, no?
no, the no, it was me all along. How can I do it there?
I saw one that was done with AI, but yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So not
check out the
new,
link.
18 months old
Yeah,
rap for
no, but it's a
harmonized
very
supply.
expensive. It's a very well done song though. And Musk has also done one. It's actually even better. It's very good. All right, next one. What's your go-to joke to break the tension if you find us in a supply chain situation? What's your go-to joke?
But this one will only make sense in Spanish, but okay, I'll try to translate it. So it's a joke about what do supply chain professionals use to eat their food, and they say like, oh, they eat it with a spoon, and then you say no, you eat it with a fork. So in Spanish, the pun is with a fork. It's con tenedor, which is translated to container.
All right.
So they eat it with a container. So,
Actually, that's a good one,
but it's so
actually.
good.
That's a very nice. I like this one. Actually, no, it is funny. It is funny. Thank you. That's a good one. What is the most bizarre request you have received from a customer?
The most be um okay, let's say there was excess of product in a warehouse and they
Hmm.
wanted to bring more of that product in a warehouse. So their request was to get rid of these excess, but the way
Hmm.
they wanted to do it was uh, by making like giving it away to our warehouse employees. So for me, it was very funny, very weird because I think, why? Why would we
Why?
do that? Or yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not iPhone, right? Imagine it's an iPhone. That would everybody
No,
would
it
feel
was,
stupid.
and for me that would it would be more easy to give away, right? But it was a very low cost product that it was actually more kind of for material handling, you know. So at the end, it's like I'm not giving tape, like extra tape or extra cardboard to all the employees that work here. Like, why should I get rid
All
of
right.
it like that?
Last two. Quick fire, right? So, what is the most lamest excuse you have heard about shipment being late?
The lamest excuse about
Which
shipment
is like
being
most
late.
stupid thing you've ever heard.
Uh, these. well, I have two, but well, the one is like this is how we do things, and this is how things have worked
Yeah,
for
but
many
that's
years.
regular. That's everybody says that. But find me
Yeah,
one more.
but why would you use it for a shipment that is late? But wait, oh, but well, I
That's
mean,
because that's a genuine excuse. It's a pretty genuine excuse. It's the way it is. Take it or leave it.
the other one is yeah, like no, I don't have another one. The other
Okay.
ones I get a lot is like I don't know, I don't know why it's late.
That's again. I don't know. That's again honest answer. I don't know. Right. Okay. That's cool. I know somebody who basically killed his mother twice. He forgot that he killed her mother once. There was a guy.
Ah,
There's
okay,
a guy who did that.
so like my mother died, and
My mother
then the
died,
next
and
one.
then I forgot after 4 months. He said the same thing. I said, "Mate, you just killed your mother 4 months ago." He just forgot that I have a good memory, and he was embarrassed anyway. He was not a supplier going forward. Okay, last one. That's a think about it carefully. That's very important.
Okay,
So if supply chain is becoming like a famous personality of some sort, right? What do you think it would be? A famous figure.
a famous what? Sorry.
So if supply chain had a personality, a famous figure,
Ah,
what they would resemble?
so I get to choose someone that exists right now.
Anyone. It could be a cartoon figure. It could be Pink Panther. I don't care. What it would be.
Okay, so it would be Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, okay, the last airbender. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why
So
you say
at
that?
the end, we'll get better at managing the four elements, not just one, and save the world.
That is very smart. I give you that. That's probably the best answer. And with this beautiful answer, which is actually inspiring and fascinating at the same time, I think we should finish our podcast. Sophia, it's been lovely talking to you. You have been amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insights. What's happening with the talent in Latin America, especially the opportunities it's bringing for the data analytics, uh, more on the supply chain side, transportation side. So if you speak Spanish, I think the place you should be, or even English, should be in Latin America, right? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think like we've said it with give you a broad idea of what's happening here. I think like definitely take a look at Latin America and give it an opportunity to surprise you. That's something I would say. But yeah.
Very well said. Thank you for Sophia again for joining us. Thank you everyone for watching. If you like what we're doing here, the usual like, share, and subscribe. Keep it simple, keep it real. Ciao.